Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing okay.
Hello.
So I'm still
everyone.
waiting for some people to join.
So how am I
I'm still
coming
waiting for
across?
some people.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, I
Yes,
can hear
yes,
you.
sir. We can hear you.
I apologize. I forgot to bring my headpiece with me, so there may be a little bit of echo when I talk. I hope I'm coming across clearly.
Yeah, you do.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. We can
Yes.
hear you. Can hear
Yes,
you
we can.
clearly.
Okay. So give some time for people to join.
Yes. Before we start, guys, did you do the assignment?
Yeah.
Yes, I sent mine not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw some. I think 2 people have sent in theirs, but
Okay.
what was our experience doing it?
Okay. Good afternoon, Mercy, and good afternoon, Doctor. Yeah. Hello?
We can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So for the surveys, you know, we have 2 parts. We have that because of the niche of our business. So we have to create 2 kinds of surveys, one for the business owners and the other for other people, you know. So somehow we have to give them time to be able to return
Who is talking? Is that Michael?
surveys back to us.
Who is talking?
Sir,
Is Michael?
hello, sir. My
Yeah,
name
is
is
it Michael?
Michael Charles, GVP.
Charles, yes.
Yeah, Michael
Michael,
from GVP.
yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
When we start this class,
Yes, sir.
there will be a lot of overlap on that, and there will be a lot more follow-up questions. So don't worry. I understand what you're saying, and when we finish this class, you'll understand why I'm saying hold off. Because what you started with Dr. Larry on Friday, which was great. I love the class. I will go into a little bit more detail in terms of questions. What you will be tired of the questions that would be asked, or you will ask yourselves. So it will seem repetitive, but it's not, because every question seeks to get more insight on one specific thing. So it will be a carry on from what we started on Monday and then add on to what Dr. Philip did on Friday. So I understand what you're saying. Every business is different, and we're going to discuss that too. Not all startups are the same. Your markets are different, your spaces are different, how you approach them. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so how many do we have now? I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good afternoon, sir.
6. Good afternoon. We have 6 people, right? So let's give them another 5 minutes. You can start 10 past. How about that? Michael, you're truly a Nigerian, aren't you? Michael.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You have the map of Nigeria right behind you. Michael Charles.
Oh. I thought you were referring to the other Michael.
No, you, Michael Charles. You have the map of Nigeria. The only thing missing is the flag. You need to have the
Okay.
flag.
Yes. That's all.
That is good. Yeah, proud Nigerian. Excellent. Let's hope that you guys build a business that will make Nigeria proud and make more names for yourselves and your countries.
Hello, guys.
Hello, Mercy.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi. So aside Michael from, not Michael Granny, Michael Charles, what else, how was the experience reaching out to people and trying to get information from them about the business and all that? What did we learn? What new thing did we learn from that exercise? I'm still waiting for some people to join.
Well, for our business as well, we had to kind of restructure the questions because the questions that we got were kind of related to individuals while we were selling to businesses and merchants, as B2B.
Yeah, so B2B.
So yeah, so we had to like switch up the questions a little bit to the product. It was good though. Found out that we got a huge market. You know, we even got some potential orders from the feasibility.
So Michael, I like what you say. When we go through this, there will be further probing questions. Like I said just a moment ago, I'm going to get tired of me seemingly coming across like repetitive, but it's not.
Yes, sir.
For you, really, you've already spent or put up your time to do what you intend to do. And if you really, really want to succeed, you need to go over this over and over until you can really nail it and come out of the cycle before you go to any. And you will see. We'll see exactly what I'm saying here. But what you're saying, some of these questions may be universal. Some might be slightly tweaked a little bit to fit a particular business. But you need to use your own judgment. No one can tell you what you need to do or what you need to say or what you need to ask the customer. Go ahead, Missy.
Yeah, and that's why, because I mean, everyone has their own business, and for some of us, our customers are unique to the industry we are focusing on. And that's why even when I sent the mail, I said, okay, so some of these questions are standard: name, where their location and all that, where they're buying from. However, please create questions for your own particular business, because imagine you creating questions or typing a form, questions that are supposed to be suited for fashion, and you'll have your in fintech. It doesn't make sense, right? It's important to have questions that are targeted at the customers and all that. And that's the reason why we structured the program the way it is, so that at least you've had a session now on customer development, you've had a session on value proposition. At this time, you should be able to know, oh, so these are the people I'm looking at, right? These are the things that they would be interested in, and be able to reach out to those people. I know that for some of us, I spoke to Abdulatif, and he was saying, yes, you need to go and meet them physically and all that. However, we need to be able to embrace the power of technology in our various businesses. Yes, we are used to going to meet people physically and ask them questions, but it's going to help you work faster when you're using technology. You're using the e-form, which is the reason why I said you could use Google Form or any of those type form to reach out to these people. So imagine you having a feedback form or a questionnaire filled with over 50 people, with over 50 responses from different people, right? It will help you understand what you're doing right and what you're not doing correctly. Because the more numbers you have, the more you have to analyze, because you're supposed to be analyzing this data, this information. Is this information that will help you to make a good decision or help you make changes in your business? So are you ready to begin with, it's already 1:10, or should we still wait? Dr. Mohammed, are you ready to begin?
Yeah, can you allow me to share my screen?
Okay. I'll be able to share now.
What is happening? I'm not able to share, Macy.
Okay, just a second, sir. Let me see if it's from my end.
Saying host disable attendees screen sharing.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay. Some reason.
MTN number you're trying to call is not reachable at the moment.
So you should be able to share your slides now. So you should be able to share your slides.
Okay. Great. Okay. Can you see?
Yes.
All right, let me go all the way up. Okay. I need to get you all over here. And let's do this. Okay. Are we all ready?
Yes, sir.
Oh, where are we? Okay. So today, as we said, we will be discussing, or we'll be discussing the product development
Yes, sir.
topic. Oh, what is happening here? Okay. So before I go into detail, I'll give you a quick primer. This is going to be very, very long. I have a lot of slides. It's not the traditional storytelling, as much as I love that, but this is the heart of your program. And that is why you are here. This is why you are spending your time to even develop a business. So because of that, I really want to make sure that you get the right, what should I say, the right footing in terms of what you need to do to make sure that your product at least gets a fair chance of succeeding. And we all would love to see you guys succeed and be a very profitable business. So because of that, the content is going to be very rich. It's going to be a lot of writing in it. No, very few graphics, but lots of text. And please don't fall asleep. Bear with me.
So we're ready.
Yeah, bear with me, because like Messi was saying, and Michael, Charles, the questions that you raised, and Ignani, Michael, did I spell that correct or pronounce that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the questions that you're, or the statements that you're making, you will see a little bit more expanded on in this class. And if you can spend time really to understand what this is, the rest of the things that you will do is just an add-on, but you really need to spend time on this. So with that, how do you determine your product is going to be a winner, or at least has a fair chance of winning in the marketplace? So far on Monday last week and Friday, we did cover two topics, the value and winning propositions. And with Dr. Philip, he spent a lot of time on the knowing your case. And that really is a reflection of the earlier value proposition. And you will see that every time we keep talking about, pretty much as though the product does not exist. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but pretty much everyone that has talked to you is talking about the customer. So you really need to be customer. You need to be obsessed with your customer. Okay. So now, with these topics that we discussed, hello? If you are talking, please can you mute if you are not talking for this class? Can you mute so that? Michael Igrani, can you mute yourself, please? Michael. Michael, you are on the phone.
Wait, hold on. Let me send it to you on WhatsApp. I think I'll be faster. Yeah.
Michael. Michael.
Yes, sir.
Please mute yourself. If you're not talking to the class, mute yourself.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to get one of our
It's okay.
partners.
It's all right.
online.
If you are not talking, listen. If you're not talking to the class, mute yourself.
Yes,
if you're
sir.
talking to the class, then you unmute, because you're interrupting the flow of conversation. Please mute yourself. Are you with me? Okay. Thank you. All right. So, as part of the recap, we talked about the value proposition and winning proposition, and Dr. Philip talked about being customer-centric really a lot. So now, how do you hone in on identifying the problem that you are really solving? As I said, you will have to bear with me because I'm going to keep coming back to the same thing. You may think that this is too repetitive, but it's not. Every single question tries to bring out some insight, okay? So how do you make sure your product is actually going to win as per spec, as per what you specified? Because you and your co-founders, when you sit down, what you do is you think of the problem that you're trying to solve and you spec it out. And you think the way you spec it is the way the customer is really going to use your product. And that's what you're hoping, but it may not necessarily be the case. So how do you know that what you said is true? So before we go into detail, I want to give you a highlight of some key companies which you may have heard of. And look at that and tell me which ones do you recognize. If you recognize any of those, you can unmute and we can have a conversation on this. That have actually launched products that they think are great products because they sat down and spec'd it out, but it failed spectacularly. Not only failing, but they spent a huge amount of money. A good example are these four on this screen. Who has heard of the Piton? Have you seen this car? the Volkswagen Beetle. This is, has anyone seen the Audi A8 class? So Audi and Volkswagen are pretty much kind of sister company plus Porsche. Okay, Porsche, Volkswagen, Audi, they're actually one company, but different segments of the market. Beetle or Volkswagen came out with Beetle. It looks like the A6. And you wonder, the very time I saw it, I used to at the time have an A6, and I was wondering, what is the difference between this Beetle and A8? And A8 is more luxurious, but these guys are trying to come in and compare themselves with the Lexus LS450. It bombed. They spent $500 million. I think they sold less than 10,000 cars or something. Horribly, horribly went wrong. On this slide, who else can tell me they recognize any of the other names? Segway. Did anyone know anything about Segway? Joshua, it sounds like you know. Okay, to save us time, Segway is a two-wheel vehicle or a kind of a scooter that has gyro stabilization mechanism in it that you see the police using and going through, or security people in the airport.
Yes, sir.
It's supposed to be for people that are, it's a mobility vehicle basically, but they really did not do their market research properly. They spent over $200 million and they're still searching. You still see them being sold, but they're still searching for a market. How about the Apple Newton? Most of you are young, you probably may not remember. This came out in the mid-90s. This is a personal digital assistant, which most of you guys are now using, that are now using. Go, I'm closed, go. Close the door, close the door. Shut the door. Excuse me. Okay. The personal digital assistant is an electronic device, basically like your phone, which most of the smartphones now do. But this is what Apple wanted to bring to the market back in the 90s. And they were like 5 years ahead of their time. And that bought. As much as Apple is well known, that was what happened. So here's another one. From this slide, which ones do you recognize? Maybe Webvan? This is an online, or was an online grocery company that was supposed to basically help you with your groceries. And this came in the .com period, late 90s into the early 2000s, and it failed spectacularly, spent close to about $1 billion. They did everything wrong, everything that we're going to discuss, they did. And everything that is wrong about not doing or what you shouldn't do, they did. Another one is the Motorola's Iridium satellite phone. Has anyone seen that?
No.
It's like a brick. And up till now, people use it. In mountainous places, people that go to the Himalayas, they use it. It's great. Great engineering work. Unfortunately, because it's satellite-based, and launching a satellite is expensive. They didn't ask what the customer really wanted. They went ahead and engineered an incredible product. In the process, they spent $5 billion. That was Motorola.
Wow.
That was before the Razor. Maybe some of you have seen the Motorola Razor phone.
Yes, sir.
That was long before the Razor. Imagine spending investor money in the tune of $5 billion. This was because Motorola, at the time, Motorola had name, and this is what they spent. So I'm telling you this as a background. It's not like failing in launching a product is unique to startups. No, big companies have done it. There was a company that hired me from the UK to the US, and you all know it, Sony. It's a Japanese company. They hired me. I was a member of a small team of about 6 or 7 engineers that started to design the first 10100 megabit Ethernet switch. Great product. 24-port chip on a single chip.
Wow.
No one had that on the market anywhere in the world. The closest was TI, Texas Instruments, with 12 ports. We had this product, we designed it, it went to market. At the end, after spending about close to $10 million, Sony said, we are not in the data communication business. We are in consumer electronic market, and they pulled out. This was before companies like Broadcom, for those of you who have had Broadcom,
ARM,
or Tricom. Tricom had that product, but they're 10 megabit, not 10100 on a single chip with 24 ports.
okay.
This is what made major companies, including Cisco, huge. But people or businesses will fail depending on how they position themselves, how they want to go about implementing their product. So I'm giving you this as a background, what we're going to discuss. So all is not gloomy. There are companies that have launched, and a few of those you probably may have used, like the sweeper from P&G. I don't know. It's a simple swiveling sweeper that you can clean your floor with. It's very nice. And they launched in 2003 and they doubled their revenue by 2004 because they asked the right questions and they went about implementing their product. I'm sure you have heard of the Prius.
Yes, sir.
That's another one. And that is the General Mills yogurt business.
Yes.
Where Mills wanted to still keep some of its customers from that were young after they have gone out of that toddler age to still be using their product. And it was a hit. So depending on how you position yourself, you can actually build a successful business.
Quick question,
So,
sir.
Go ahead.
With all the businesses that we just saw on the products that failed, one thing that's similar I saw is that they're all big companies who could have afforded to actually do the necessary research to know the market. Why does that happen? Do you think it's because they get to a stage where they feel that they already know the market and know what the customer wants? That's why they go ahead with products like that, or what?
Yeah, so as we continue in the conversation, I am going to take us through a product, the typical or traditional product development process, and you will see why. And that will answer some of the questions. Typically, in any case, the reason is simple, and that is on this slide, I said, typical product development involves market sizing, sales estimate, marketing goes out and creates its own MRP. That's the product requirement document that will now be used to create market and drive into the sales pipeline. And that is what hopefully will drive revenue and create a business. And then there is the product feature prioritization, which is really part of product development and engineering.
Okay.
So to answer your question, Michael, really, those companies have money. Even though they have money, though,
Yes, sir.
however much money you have, resources always limited. So what you see with companies is there are budgets. People will come up with ideas. They say, look, our products life cycle, because every product has a life cycle. It has the initial stage where it ramps up and then it slows down. It's called the S curve or the solenoid curve. So that S curve, when you start to plateau, you need to reinvent yourself. And in the process of reinventing, either you check the feature sets of the key product you have, or you look at other markets that you will want to go in and try to create a business. Okay. And in the process, if you are a good salesman, meaning one head of department, vice president of a particular unit, and you come up in the board meeting and you said, look, we have this product and we have done this study, and this is like what we have right now on this slide. This is the market size, and this is what we think the market is going to be. As long as you're a good presenter and you're lucky to get the budget, you get the money. Okay. Although you have to fight for it. And then you go out until such a point where now you start to fail and you have to come back and argue your case. And we'll see down the road what that would mean. So going back to our presentation, typically only 1 in 10 of this kind of approach succeed. And the question is why? And I think, Michael, that's why you're asking that question. So why is that? The answer is very simple, yet very profound, okay? The product team that wins is always the one that goes outside the building. Early in the product development cycle, and often talking to the customer. The customer that you spec out, thinking that, yes, I think those are the guys that are going to use my product, okay? So at least you do that until you come to a point when you realize that, oh, oops, they are not. In the process, you found out it's somebody else. Then you pivot, as they fondly use that word in the startup world. The ones that lose are teams that think they know, and they stay inside their offices or their corporate offices and spec out a product and say, they look at their product lineup and they say, you know what, I think we have a gap between product A and product B. We can slot in something that will meet certain market segments. And I think we have X customers that will buy this. And you just go ahead without necessarily going out to find out. Yes, sir. Okay, so excuse me, I have some quick questions coming. Please bear with me. Assalamu alaikum, bro. No? Latin? No? Okay, excellent. Okay, okay. Okay, no problem. I will call you back. Not about a class names. So I will call you back. Hello? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Hello, sorry about that. Okay. So this is what we said about the reasons why a product may win or lose. So really what you need is to be interacting with your customer often and early enough in the product development cycle so that you will give yourself a fair chance of succeeding. And this is really, really important. Please keep that in mind and take this to heart, because this is what will make you successful or fail. And it's not like a hypothetical thing, but this is based on facts. Some of you may know, I spent at least 24, 25 years of my time actively working with companies and also interacting with friends in different other businesses within Silicon Valley. And you see companies come and go. And some you can explain why, some you just can't even explain why they fail. But this statement is based on real market or field study. So, as I said earlier, that we are going to be coming across a number of questions, and you need to keep asking those questions. And you need to continue asking the same thing. Where is our market? Who are our customers? Where are they? How do we build the right team? And how do we scale? So these questions are kind of top level. As we proceed, you will start to go deeper. You will start to ask more questions. I'm sure during the bootcamp, we spent some time and we did answer this question. And you will think, that, why is he giving me this? We've already covered this topic. You will see more. So this is a traditional product development model. Michael, you asked the question, why are these companies succeeding? Why are they failing? Or especially big companies that have the money. So this is a very typical product development or traditional product development cycle. Guys, I'm going to open the floor now and let's have an interaction. What do you see is wrong with this, or what do you think of this model? I would imagine that you guys may have adopted this model.
Yeah, yes, sir. But there's no space for actual customer relation, like going out to actually find out what your customer thinks, a feasibility study, so to speak, before you start building the product.
Anybody else agreeing with what Michael is saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you guys actually, at least you are getting onto the right track. And this is exactly as strange as this may sound, but because you are beneficiaries of later incarnations of startups, at least you have the benefit of those that have failed. But typically, traditionally, I remember vividly. When I went to Silicon Valley in 1996, this is what we went through with the first product that I worked on at Sony. We had a spec, we had a great engineer, an elderly professor from Purdue University that came up with this idea of Ethernet switch with large number of ports, and approached Sony, and they said, you know what, put together a team and let's see what you can do. And we came up with a spec and we developed that spec. So I will go through each step here to see what that does. In the first stage, you look at what you're offering, and is what you're offering actually possible to be built? Can you build this thing? So I would use hardware as an example, but this can apply to software, it can apply to Toby with your passion design, or the lady with the spice. It doesn't matter, any product is the same. You come up with the same kind of concept. You go and do your market research to check and see what is out there, right? What are you going to tweak in terms of features or flavors or look or whatever that might be, so that it will attract the attention, you think, of the customer. And really, who will be the customer? And where can you find those customers? You see, now we're going deeper from the earlier question. So now you are trying to say, okay, who is really the key customer for this? And where can I find them in this whole of Abuja? or maybe Nigeria. And what kind of interview are you going to have to really determine whether or not that is merit to your concept? Whether in fact it even works or will work, or somebody will even give you a hearing moment to say whether or not, yeah, it makes sense. And then you're also going to do some market research. And I think a lot of you have done that when we did the bootcamp. You try to size your market, how big the market is, and what you need.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we have.
Yes, sir, we have.
I think it's stuck.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. No.
Okay. How about now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I think that changed the momentary loss of. So, are you with me on this first stage?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, what I was trying to do here is to list some of the things that we need to be aware of. And this is what happens in the first stage of the product development. So, these are questions that you start thinking, and then you put those together. And with that, you think you know exactly what the customer needs. And in typical product development process, at that stage, literally once you spec the product, people just pick the portion that applies to them and they go to their different corners. I remember that vividly. And they stop talking. Basically, engineering will take the spec and then start engineering how they're going to build this product. Marketing, will start thinking, okay, what do we do to start positioning this product such that we can tell a good story to sell to the market? And also sales does the same thing. And at that point, depending on the stage that the product development is at, sales and marketing start hiring people, and even engineering will start hiring people to come and help with the development of the product. And product development at that stage, once the product has been spec'd out, will take that spec and start creating a schedule, including the delivery and the cost of product development. When I say delivery, meaning delivery date as to when you are actually going to deliver the product so that you will ship it out to the end customer. At that stage, marketing now starts refining its stories and from the business plan that you as co-founders put together to see how it fits with the first customer ship. When I say first customer ship, that is first cut of your product out on the market. That includes creating demos or telling the customer, this is how, or what you think the product would look like. You start telling the same story to your sales team for them to start going out and trying to position the product. Let's say you have actually gone through the development stage and you're about to launch a first version of that product, which will be your alpha trial, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
at that point, sales will start positioning itself to say, okay, it looks like this product is about to come to life. I need to get, maybe I'm the only BP of sales. I need to get a couple of more people to help me go out and start selling this product. Not necessarily asking the customer what they want, but telling them that this is the product we're developing and we're trying to position ourselves and telling a story. You may get a handful of people who will want to try it. Okay? And the marketing now also starts developing its own plan with the materials that will support the sales. Sales may even sign up a few customers that may try the product. Now it starts getting interesting. At this point, let's say the education startup, I think it's Sarki, right? You have your product and you're out there and you have taken it to a level where you have got 1 or 2 secondary schools in Abuja that are trying.
Yeah.
At that point, you already have had some venture capital that have invested a little amount of money in you, just at the concept level. Now you have actually developed a product that is close to being similar to what you're talking about or what you're speaking out. You take it to some schools, 1 or 2 schools, say, yeah, we'll try it. And then you come back and tell your investor, and the investor will be happy. So what do you need now? I gave you 500,000 naira before you pretty much spent that, and at least with that 500,000, you've reached a point where school A or B is not using your product. It looks like if you get more money, you could get more schools on board. Now investors will start giving you more money. For the CEO, as you may be, you look at that storyline and you said, we are spending money, maybe even sales have started ramping up stuff. I need to go out on the road show to raise more money. And that is what happens. This is where the interesting stuff happens, and this is where you see the problem of success and failure after product launch. You know, we have these 4 blocks. You have the concept, you have the development, you have the alpha and beta trials, and then you have the launch. Everybody is lining up for this day to ship out. And for engineers, I'm telling you, it's great because you've been spending day and night working on this thing. The moment the product goes out, you've tested it and you have cut it and it's been shipped to the customer, relief. And everybody feels great. And at that point, sales goes on overdrive. That is the date that they're looking at. And they want to use that date to launch everything that they're doing. At that point, quotas for the salespeople is being set. If you are in Nigeria, let's use the 6 geopolitical zones. And you want your product to be in each of those zones. So as a sales of BP or BP of sales, you have set up organizations in each of those geopolitical zones, and you want to start selling these products into those zones. How can you do that? You have to build up an organization and you have to start hiring people. So now you are starting to incur costs. Now for marketing, on the other hand, they have to build and tell a good story such that the story will encourage people to want to buy the product. So they go out and do mass PR campaigns, hiring agencies that will do this, and they will go on the print and electronic media. So they will feed the sales channel. All these activities cost money. And that is where your burn rate, goes up. Burn rate really means you're burning money. You are spending money that you don't have. This is the money that you scour around from investors. And now you think that you have gotten a product and you're going to scale. The CEO, in your case, you being the CEOs, you see that your money in the account is going down and you start getting worried. So you have to go out and start raising more money. Hopefully, while you're doing that, the product is also getting traction. And if it does, that's great. At that point, two things typically happens. You either get merged or bought out by some other company, or if you're lucky, you go for an IPO. That's initial public offering. You become a public company. And for those of you in the company, your employees, the CEO, everybody becomes a millionaire. And the investors quickly cash in and take their money and run. Right? Whether or not this product is going to be successful is not their business. They have reached a point, they have taken you from the cradle all the way up to the public space. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So at that point, you may not have that much of a track record of success, but at least you have come public. And for the investor, his story is done. There's a successful investment, takes his money and goes. Here, I have played in this space in another company. It's a startup company that developed the first 10 gigabit Ethernet. We went through this exact process. And we didn't go IPO, but we got acquired. We got merged with a bigger company. For those of us that joined early, we were lucky, we were able to cash. If you were able to get a share of the company at sub-dollar price per share, and you have a few thousand shares, and now you've been bought out at maybe $20, $30 per share, you see you make good money. So a lot of people make money out of that. So this is what you hope you will be able to do. But what is wrong with this model? And Michael Igrani, this is where your question comes. What is wrong with this picture, with that business model of those 4 blocks? The problem is actually in the name, the product development model. Within this product development model, you can see there are so many things that happen. It's not actually the product development, and you, as some of you rightly pointed out, the customer was not there. This model is not about marketing. It's not about sales hiring its staff or building its organization. It's not even about customer acquisition model or financial modeling, right? Yet, startups actually use a lot of startups. Up until today, some that are not familiar with this process or that follow the traditional track still use this. So, several things are actually wrong with this model. It ignores the fundamental issue of product and the, like you said, where is the customer in all of these steps? The customer is not there, or at least we assume we know who the customer is or what product it is that we're selling, and we think that the customer will accept the product as it is, but not necessarily. So in the next slide, we'll see some of the things that are actually wrong with this model. The first one is the fixation with the first date of shipping the product. Sales and marketing typically look at the ship date and start to figure out how they're going to do their job, right? The sales guy would say, okay, today is June, and based on what I was told on the product development cycle, this product is going to be ready by March of next year, end of Q1 of 2021. And we will start shipping. And the business plan calls for actual revenue as at that point. So you start to plan as the VP of sales, how are you going to sell this product? You have to gear yourself. So the moment you hit that point where you think, or rather you look at the date and you start to walk backward, next year, where will the product be in December? Where will be the product in October 2020? And try to see whether or not you can actually work some magic to position the product such that once it hits the March 31st of 2021, you're ready to go to market and get the customer to start buying. Product development, at this point, unfortunately, thinks that their job is done because they've finished their development. But the problem with this is this first customer ship is not necessarily meaning that the customer does, or the company does even understand who his customer is, how he's going to market the product, or who is going to buy the product. Because the customer is not there. You're using your own assumptions. And I hope you guys are not doing that. I hope during this lockdown you have tried to interact with your customers like some of you already alluded to. But unfortunately, most companies go with this calendar. So don't fall into this trap. Try to make sure you really understand where you are with your product vis-a-vis your customer. In most cases, customers, I think Michael Igrani, you just said something earlier when Messi was asking you a question, and you said that, if I hear you correctly, that some of the customers that you think might be your customers probably are not. Is that what you implied?
Yeah, I kind of implied that in relation to the questions. So I had to break down the questions into different forms for different kind of customers.
Okay. So in most cases, what startups find out or discover is they may think that actually customer A or this segment of people are the ones that are likely to buy our product, but they don't really realize that they may not be until after the first customer ship and the sales people started going out, and then they realize that, oh, actually these people are not the real customers. They are not the mainstream customers. And the product probably doesn't even solve a high value problem. The solution doesn't solve a high value problem. Or it may have, but for you to get this product to the mainstream, it costs too much in the distribution channel. And by the time you realize that, you have spent so much money building the product, building the marketing organization, building the sales organization, and you've burnt most of the money you raised. Then what? What's your plan B? So that is where you need to be very careful. And that's why there is a problem with that traditional product development model. The second issue with that model is emphasis on execution instead of learning and discovery. Learning and discovery essentially meaning going out of the building and meeting with your customers and really understanding what they need. In most cases, sales and marketing thinks that you hire them because of what they know, because they have been successful in creating a revenue of X amount of money with company A or Y or Z, right? And they think they'll replicate the same success there that they had in your company, not realizing that you are starting a new business, going into a new space perhaps, and you need to understand what the customer is looking for. So they don't come with the mindset of trying to learn, they come with, I know it all. And that is a big problem. So that causes a serious faulty assumption on the product, the customer, as well as the market. So you need to continue asking these questions, please. Don't be tired. And I will go through them. What are the problems our product solves? I know you have answered this question, but ask yourself again. Do customers perceive these problems are as important or a must-have? If we are selling to businesses, who in the company, excuse me, I'm getting some. If we're selling to business, who in the company has a problem that we are trying to solve? You may say, you're selling into a company A, but a company A is huge. Probably your problem, your product is not actually solving company A's problem, but a segment of company A. So you need to identify within the company who is actually looking for that solution that you're providing. And how do you reach them? Then you need to evaluate to see within that company or that particular segment, how big is that market? Is it actually as you think? You may have valued your market around 5 billion naira, but is that really true? As you start to dig deeper, perhaps it's somewhere around 5 million naira. If it is it worth your effort? That's a very important question. So who do we want to make the first sales call on? When you know and understand your product, then you want to know who do you want to go to. And during this time, you really want to identify high value customers. Not somebody who will give you a margin of maybe a fraction of a percentage. You want to really hit somebody that is going to pay good money. Who else has to approve the purchase of this product? If you are going to lobby, if you are going to go, marketing is really nothing but lobby and sales, creating relationships. So how many customers do we need to have for this product to be profitable? This is very, very important. Do you have a huge market? And what would be the average order size in order for you to meet that profitability question that you're looking at, okay? So critical to success or failure of your business, you must answer these sets of questions before you even start thinking of scaling your marketing team or your sales team. And these questions are actually not your execution questions. These are really probing questions, and these are questions that will make you to learn about your market and your customer and to discover the key things that they're looking for. So at this point, any more questions or anything that you'd like to add or that may have kind of touch on your product? Any one of you? No? Okay. So another problem is for business and marketing, as well as business salespeople, that have really fuzzy milestones. While engineering typically has a milestone of making sure that this product works, until you ship out the product, sales, marketing, and business development really don't have a clue as to whether or not there is an issue with this product cycle and its development. They have no clue because they have not tried it. They have not gone before the customer to say, the product that I'm selling spice that has ginger in it with some cardamom and some hot kind of spice of different variants, and I want you to put it in suya. And perhaps the guy that you're selling the suya man will say, no, I don't like this kind of, this is the kind of spice combination or mixture that I need. But not until after you put everything together, your sales guy doesn't know that this is what the end customer wants. And for him to even come back and tell you when you're putting all your ingredients together to say that, look, don't put this, don't put that. This is what you need to put together. So I have a couple of examples here. For sales and marketing, for them as milestones, they try to do two things. For the salesperson, he just wants to look at the revenue. He wants to make sure that he's generating revenue. As soon as he's generating revenue, to him, he's convinced that there is market out there and people are willing to pay. Until he starts selling, he doesn't know how to gauge himself or even use a metric to measure himself. And that's a problem, because until the product comes out, he won't be able to do that. The same with marketing people, because they have to create all this collateral and employing PR agencies to come together to create a market demand that will drive the sales pipeline. But the truth, though, is that none of these are real objectives. So now we start to go in even deeper, ask more questions. And these are the kinds of questions that you really want to answer as a startup. So you can see that we are gradually going deeper and deeper in our series of questions. How well do we understand what problems our customers have? We think we understand the customer, but do we really? How much will they pay if you were to solve that problem? Now, this question is taking you along the lines of pricing, right? But how do you know how much you're going to pay without talking to them? Someone will say, wow, if you can solve this problem for me, I don't care. I will give you this amount. So that is really important. Do the features that you're proposing actually solve those problems? Do you understand the business of your customer well enough to propose the solution that you're proposing? And this question, do we understand the hierarchy of the customer needs? This is really interesting, because in the customer need, there may be a different layer or layers that they want to solve. I'll pick on Toby, your fashion line. What do you think is of importance to your customer? Because there are several hierarchies there. You do makeup, you provide beads and maybe jewelries.
Yes, sir.
And you provide traditional attire for.
Yes.
So among all those, what is the hierarchy? Which one is most important? You need to understand. And when you do segment all these hierarchies, you need to also segment it from the standpoint of number of customers that are likely to buy those. If it's the beads, if it's the jewelry, if it's the clothing, the makeup. Now you're starting to segment and segregate all those customers. There are different hierarchies, and this applies to you guys. The paint guy, the same thing. What kind of paint? What kind of combination? What kind of color? What kind of texture? Is it for residence? Is it for outdoor? Is it indoor painting, outdoor? You need to really start to create a strata of hierarchy for your customer. So you can see now you are actually probing deeper into the question. You think you know your customer, but you don't. The more you start to ask questions, you start going deeper. And these are going to create insights for you. For those of you who are have some experience with data analysis or analytics, these are insights. These are quick. Really, when you are doing something, you need to keep asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more insight you get. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So the next question is also very important. Have we found visionary customers, our early product adapters? This word visionary customers, we'll come back to it later. And this are your people that will see a product and say, oh yeah, this is good, I'll take it. And you guys probably have friends that you can identify who every little thing that comes out, they'll be the first to get it. You would be, John, he's stupid. Why are you spending money on this thing for what? I mean, yeah, it looks great, but do you really need it? So somebody would just want something, not necessarily need it, but he just wants it or she wants it. So you need to really understand and differentiate those classes of customers. So is our product a must-have or a nice-to-have? So this is need versus want. You really need to dig deeper. All of you, all your businesses, these questions apply. Do you understand the sales cycle or the roadmap such that a customer that buys from you will be a repeat customer because you want consistency. You don't want people, a million people come and buy, and that will be it. Then you will go searching for 100 customers for the next 2 years. That doesn't help you. You would rather have 100 customers consistently buying for the next 10 years. And then you start to build on that. We understand what we need to be profitable. Now, this is not saying how are we going to be profitable. This is saying, do we understand what do we really need to be profitable? So it's another twist to the question on profitability. What do we need to be profitable? From the standpoint of the startup and from the standpoint of the customer or the consumer. This is a two sides kind of question. What do you really need to be profitable? How do you position yourself to be profitable? Are the sales and business plans realistic, scalable, and achievable? You know, earlier on when we started, we talked about the business plan. So within that business plan that was written in the confines of your offices, is it realistic? You now have to revisit it again. And most importantly, do we have a plan B if this model really turns out to be wrong? We have to think on our feet very quickly. We have to come up with a plan B. Okay, so this and the next slide are actually some things that I already spent some time on it, so I'm not going to spend much time, but I'll just highlight it. This is how the business model appears to a VP of sales. He looks at this, he goes right here to the third block, and probably that's when he is hired anyway. And he starts to build a small team of people. Maybe he is located in Abuja and says, I want to sell this product. I'm going to go out and get a few people that will try this product. But the moment you hit the launch date, game on. He's going out, building out organizations all across the geopolitical zones to make sure he sells this product. So the business plan promises the investors that customer revenue generation will start immediately, will start shipping the product. And that is a big problem. Selling isn't predicated on the discovering or on discovering the right market or whether any customers may buy the product. Instead, it is actually based on the schedule of the product development. It says, sales guy, you are ready to go selling the moment we ship this product. And that's really, really terrible. Ready or not, we are coming. You're going to go out and sell. So what is the consequence if the sales strategy is wrong? You see?
Yes, sir.
So in the meantime, not only have you built an organization in Abuja, but you have built an organization in Port Harcourt, Lagos, Sokoto, Jos, Maiduguri, Kano, all over. And you have to pay this staff. And it's not only their salary, but their travels, their entertainment, because when they go, they have to entertain the customer, you know?
Yes, sir.
From the standpoint of the marketing guy, he actually starts early during the product development. He comes up with marketing. That's marketing communication materials. collaterals, presentation materials, all the way down to the lunch day. So he spends a lot of time building these organizations, and that costs money. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I've not spent time on this, we've already talked about it. So the next one is premature scaling. The problem is we have scaled sales, marketing, as well as business development before we even got our first dollar or first naira. Right? For startup executives, really, they have 3 documents. The very first one that you guys sat down in your offices and wrote your business plan. And then you have your product model, and then you have your revenue forecast. And you said, this is what we're going to get. And all of this, unfortunately, are not learning and discovery documents. They are really execution documents. So that is where the fun starts, right here, if you don't get it right. And I hope all of you don't fall into this category. The moment you start burning and you have scaled up your product, you've hired people without really understanding your market, without really nailing those questions properly, you are in for a surprise. Your burn rate goes really high. And this is why, like I said earlier, you're going to pay salaries. You're going to pay facilities, right? Like offices, infrastructure cost. You have to pay recruiting agencies their fees, and there are travel expenses that you have to actually spend. All the monies that you have raised on this in order to really sell the product. Now, as you're burning, because of the sales ramp up, or sales organization ramp up, not necessarily the revenue ramp up, but sales organization structure ramping up, getting so many people, there is pressure on the inside, on the CEO and the marketing people, because sales guy does little if the marketing person does not create demand for him to fill his pipeline. So now the VP of marketing starts spending even more, saying, oh, we didn't get the salespeople to generate revenue because we didn't advertise more in this segment of the market or in this space or the region of the market that we're looking at. So you go on spending even more and repositioning the product, explaining more to the market and to your investors, all the while possibly losing credibility. And this is where really, as they said, rubber hits the road. Morale starts to spiral. Finger pointing starts. The first that gets called, believe me, you think you are small, you are 2 people or 3 people, you're just starting your business. This may happen to you, and I hope it doesn't. Because you hope to go out and raise money. And when you raise money, you're going to eventually, at some point, build a board. There will be a board representation, even if it's 2, 3 people or 4 people. You will have that eventually. And it's a nice to have, it's a sign of success. At least some people have trusted you, they've given you money, and you started doing something. And your sales VP, if he is not meeting, remember I said, revenue was promised to investors the moment you start shipping product. If revenue does not materialize in the first quarter or second quarter, the board will call the VP of sales. Mr. VP, what's going on? Your typically salespeople are good in talking, probably talks his way through, smoothing things out. Don't worry, these are the reasons we're working on it, we're going to fix it. It's okay, go on. You go second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, things are not looking good. At that point, the VP of sales starts sweating. Things really start looking bad. At some point, typically, he's going to go. He's going to get fired. And now you'll hire a new VP of sales. So when this VP of sales comes, because of the honeymoon he or she may have with the CEO, there will not be a problem if after a quarter or two, the revenue does not really look promising. Instead, people will start thinking maybe the VP of marketing is not generating enough demand or creating demand to fill the sales pipeline. Now the sales VP of marketing will start having problem with the VP of sales, because the VP of sales will say, marketing is not doing their job to create demand for me to sell. At that point, maybe most likely the VP of marketing will be fired by the board, because they will say, the problem is actually not the salespeople. It looks like it's the marketing, and marketing may likely go. And this thing continues down the line. At some point, again, if there's no turnaround, the CEO will be on the hot seat. And now he or she will have to prove to the board that they have a recipe for turning this whole ship around and making revenue or profit. And that could be really messy, especially if the CEO is a co-founder of the company, because it's not really easy to fire a CEO of a founding company. But that has happened. I'm sure you guys have heard of Steve Jobs, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you guys know that he was fired from Apple? Did any of you know? And
Yes,
if you
sir.
do, which year was that?
I'm not sure the year, but I know he was fired when he went to Pixar and then he came back. I'm not sure what year.
Okay, this was in the mid-90s.
Okay.
95, 96, I believe. Basically, sales were horrible. So all these things that I'm counting happened at
Yes,
Apple.
sir.
Apple that you hear about today, that is all the successful company. Apple almost died in the mid-90s. Go back and check the history, the stock history of Apple at this point. In 96, 97, Apple stock, who will guess the price of Apple stock at that time?
$20.
Just throw a number. Give me a number.
$20.
How much?
$20.
Less than $1.
What? Wow.
Check it. Go back and check it. Go to Apple stock, click on history. You will see it. Go back to 1996, 95, 97. It was sub-$1. I remember vividly because my apartment was very close, less than 2 miles from Apple headquarters in Cupertino. When we have parties, we're actually making jokes of our friends that are working at Apple because their stock was horrible. They fired the founder or co-founder of Apple, brought somebody from a semiconductor company. I'm trying to remember. Standard, I think it's Standard Semiconductor or something. The guy messed up again. Eventually, they went back to Steve Jobs from Pixar and brought him back on a salary of $1 a year to turn the company around. But this is after Apple has gone through a very traumatic experience. So all these things that I'm saying on this slide happens. And it's not a hypothetical or imagined thing. No, this happens a lot. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I can tell you many stories that I've seen and experienced in the Valley. So this is a true thing that could happen. However, sometimes all these things that are happening, it could easily be turned around with 1 or 2 iterations, and that's exactly what happened at Apple. They started looking at their customer base again. Remember the what do they call it? Is it the Apple, colorful Apple monitor that is all enclosed? That is like with a very funny shape. Do you guys remember that?
Yes, sir.
Maybe most of you are young, you may not remember this. It comes in all colors. You can choose your color,
Yeah.
whatever color you want. Yeah. It has a very funny shape. And that was what saved Apple, believe it or not. That is how it started turning around before it got all to all these handheld devices, the iPads and stuff. But that's really what happens. Another example is Invu. Do you guys know this company, Invu?
No, sir.
The gaming platform. Have you heard of Eric Ries?
Yes, sir.
Other than Michael, anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Even if you have not heard of the name, you probably have read or come across the Lean Startup.
Yes, sir.
He
Yeah.
wrote the book on Lean Startup. And if you read that book, and I think I've given you that, if I have not, remind me, I'll send it to Macy so that she can make this book available to you. It's an incredible read, and it tells you how you keep pivoting. Pivot and pivot and pivot until you get it right. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And here we are about the different types of startups. And I think before we start talking, started the class, Macy did mention something, and I think they are kind of back and forth about different startups and the questions, like Michael, you said, some of the questions you may have to customize it to your customer, right? So there are 4 categories of companies, and you have to decide which one are you. Are you bringing new product to an existing market? Are you bringing a new product to a new market? Or are you bringing a new product into an existing market that you want to resegment for low cost? Which one are you? Or instead of resegmenting for low cost, you're resegmenting as a niche entrant.
So what do you mean by resegmenting in already an existing market?
Okay, so this may apply to you, maybe not. You are bringing, your product is a little different. You are doing a sales point.
Yes, sir.
Type of solution. Already something exists. There's a POS. People have this cumbersome stuff that they slot their ATM card or their credit card and make payments, right? You are coming with a solution that says you're getting rid of most of these things and making it less cumbersome, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So most likely the cost is going to be lower.
Yes, sir.
Than what obtains today. Maybe H-Medics, it costs them to process a transaction, costs them maybe 50 Naira or 20 Naira, and you're saying you're going to do the same for them for 10 Naira. Perhaps. So that is you, maybe not. And the 4th one is bringing new product again to an existing market. You are resegmenting it, but for a niche entrant. Maybe you pick, and typically niche entrants are high-end type products. You're doing something that is going to be a little edgy, a little bit more for certain types of customers. You know you buy this thing, and you're not Tesla. Tesla is selling. Okay. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's choppy.
Okay. So I am talking about a niche market, maybe not quite a good example, but I am going to use Tesla. Tesla is an electric car, and there are lots of electric cars out there in the market, and there are also petrol-based cars. But Tesla, when it first came out, went after the high-end market, and that's a niche market. There are so many people who buy cars, but they didn't say we're selling our cars to everybody. They said we want to sell it to only those wealthy people who can afford to pay $80,000, right?
Yes,
It's
sir.
for everybody. It's for a specific market. And you may be somebody that is in that space coming out with another car, and you are going to go after, or you're going after Tesla's niche market of the $80,000 space and saying, I want to take a portion of that. And guess what? Exactly that is happening right now. And guess which company is doing that?
Ford?
No. It's a luxury brand.
Mercedes?
No.
Hmm.
Porsche.
Porsche. Oh, yes.
Porsche.
Yeah. True.
Porsche is coming with a 4-door. It looks like a 914. Luxury, beautiful. It looks similar to the, is it the Caprera, the 4-door Porsche?
Yeah, the Carrera.
Yeah, the Carrera is like that, but it's much more. And you think Tesla is going to sit and wait? They're going to fight that. But
Model
Porsche
Y.
is going after that particular niche market of the high end. So that is what I'm saying. So you have you guys have to decide what are you.
Mm.
Are you bringing something new to the market in a new space, or are you bringing something new to an existing market? You have to decide who you are. And this is very important. You need to know that. Okay? You really have to define who you are of those 4 market types. You need to know who you are, in addition to answering the other questions. So the traditional product development model could succeed in getting a product into a non-market with the old traditional model that we talked about. And I'll give you an example. Again, I'm going to take you back to the 90s. We earlier talked about, I don't know if any of you have used a PDA, the personal digital assistant.
Yes, sir.
So earlier I mentioned the Newton by Apple that came like 5 years ahead of its time. At that time, people didn't understand it and it failed. They spent a lot of money on it. But there is a company, after PDA has become popular, and I will go forward before coming back, make my point. There is a company called Handspring. Handspring, you may not have heard of it, but it was led by a smart lady called Donna. This is after PDA, or this was after PDA had become popular. People knew what a PDA was. HP has it, the Palm, with the Palm. You have other companies, right?
Yes,
now, Handspring turned around, the CEO turned around and looked at the VP of sales and said, I want us to capture this 20% of this $20 billion, 20% of this $1 billion market. I want to get $200 million in revenue. Do it. Now, the VP of sales turned around and said, okay, I think we'll try, we'll do it. We're selling a product that is in a space that the market understands. They know what a PDA and they know what to do. And he turned around and talked to the VP of sales, VP of marketing, and said, help me create a demand so that we can sell this product and competition. What the market marketing VP did. He did two things. He looked at the market space and he knew what people are using this product for, and they know what people would love to have with this because it's all there. We were all using it at the time. He did two things. He made it, handspring at the time became, because Palm wasn't expandable. It has a fixed memory. They made it expandable so that you can increase the memory, which means you can add more and do more with your product.
Okay.
But on top of that, it increased. Okay, I'm losing you guys. Can you hear me?
No. Yes, sir.
Okay, the network is flickering.
Oh.
And then, in addition to increasing the memory size or making it expandable, it also made it faster. So it changed the processor that is in that device. So all of a sudden, handsprings devices are expandable, which means you can carry more and do more with your device. And it's faster. You can access information much faster than the competition. And guess what? Within 12 months, they actually captured 17% of the market.
Wow.
So I said, get me 20%. You didn't get me 20%, but in 12 months, you got me 17%. That's damn good.
Mm-hmm.
You did about 80% of my ask, or maybe 75% of my ask. That's pretty good. And that is what happened if you are bringing. Go ahead, Michael.
Just to say, so they managed to achieve that just by focusing on the product and the customer, looking at ways to make the existing product better.
And the thing there is because it's a new product in a way, because you're bringing, while it's the same product, but it's a revision, right? So it is V2, for example.
Yes,
so you may change the physical appearance of it, and it's, instead of having a meg of memory, now it has 4 meg of memory.
Yeah.
And maybe it's using a
faster chip,
100 megahertz.
Of course. Yeah.
Now you're having a 200 megahertz faster chip, right? So all of a sudden, but it's in a new, in an existing market space. The people understand what a PDA is, but they can see that this product is doing something more than what is obtainable out on the market.
Yes,
the moment you come out with something like this, they will buy it because they know it. You don't have to spend time marketing and doing sales to create buzz around the product before people will buy it. You don't have to spend time because people know. If you say PDA, people know it, right? Yeah. So that is what that was. But take this back maybe 5 years earlier, when the same founders of Handspring formed Palm before Palm was bought by HP. Palm was the company that looked at what Apple did with the Newton much earlier and failed, and tried to reposition the product and came out with that first PDA. And if at that point the CEO looked at the BPO sales and said, get me 20% of the market, it means nothing. Why? Because they're bringing new product to new market, because they have to tell the customers that this is personal digital assistant. And this is what you're going to do with it. This is what you don't have, and this is what it can do for you. It does a great thing, but you have to create the buzz around the product. So if they have done the same thing at that time without creating the awareness with the customer and understanding the customer need and building a product around that to come out with a product and spending on that, they will not succeed. So you see the difference? Bringing new product to new market and then bringing new product to an existing market. You see the difference?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you guys need to decide what I do. Okay? But in most cases, you fall in the second and third category. most cases.
Yeah.
You need to decide who you are.
In terms of product development, sir, is it safe to say that timing is a big factor? Like we touched on a couple companies that were, so to speak, ahead of the market, and it didn't work out for them then, but later on, a couple years later, other people iterated what they did and actually created that market. So is timing really key for product development?
I don't want to use the word timing, but yeah, there is this common saying that you are ahead of your time, right?
Yeah. Sure.
This happened. Yeah. So yes, that is possible. Yeah. Yeah. So all types of startups have very different rates of customer adoption and acceptance. For all those four that we talked about, the way you are going to spend is very different from the way you, Michael, will be very different from the way Toby will spend, or from Michael Charles will spend, or Simon will spend, right? Their sales and marketing strategies differ dramatically. In addition, each market type had radical different cash needs. An example is a company creating a new market might not be profitable for a long while. So if you're going to take 5 or 10 years to be profitable, you better be sure that you have a source of revenue or funding that will keep you alive for that period. While another product might start generating cash very, very quickly. Good example is the handspring, a product in an existing market, right?
Yes, sir.
Now here we go with the unrealistic expectations that we set for ourselves. The product development model assumes it can be relied upon, right? To, excuse me, it's just costing me. Can be relied upon to guide activities that have nothing to do with the product development itself, namely those three, right? Which is actually a problem. And all types of startups and all new products will achieve acceptance and deployment at the same rate. This is the assumption. That is, once you ship your product, you are thinking that all these 4 different types of market types, if 4 of you are in each of those separate market types, you will all achieve acceptance and deployment rates at the same time. That is a fallacy. That doesn't happen. It's not true. And meanwhile, you have your investor really harping at you, saying, when am I going to start seeing revenue? You know? And to get funded, unfortunately, a lot of startups make unrealistic assumptions. So during the boot camp, there are a couple of people that made some assumptions of their market sizes. I think this is the time. I'm not going to call you out now, but in person, individually, I will talk to you. You seriously need to go back and look at those market sizes, okay? This is really important because this will make or break you. Beware. So most of these slides you'll see are actually like warnings, advice, drawing your attention to things that you need to be careful about, okay?
Yes, sir.
Be aware. These optimistic expectations become the plan of record, forcing execution towards unrealistic and unachievable goals. You said, I'm going to, by the way, my market size is 100 billion naira. I think my realistic obtainable market is 10 billion of that. And I think I can achieve this run rate probably at within the next 2-3 years. And you collected a huge amount of money and you're going to get a lot of pressure, sleepless nights. So be realistic. I'm not saying be too conservative, but be realistic. Be brutally honest with yourselves. Those questions that we asked earlier, please go back, revise them, dig deep. Think. We did a lot of thinking, or you guys did a lot of thinking with your BMC. It's good, but this was you thinking about it. Now it's time to hit the road and start really thinking deeper. So we have identified a lot of problems with that model. So what is the alternative? And
Can I speak, sir?
Yeah? Somebody saying something?
Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, if I might come in a little, because I have a little, yes, sir. I have a little challenge, because for my own product, which is more like a new product, not really having the market, but then we have to create the market. Okay, so 3D printing is what a lot of people don't know about. And then, first and foremost, a lot of presentations and so on. And little people are catching up. It's so very difficult to say this is our market size. However, because we know a lot of people love DIYs, and also looking at the way a lot of schools are now going tech-wise, we know that the market is there. Will it be good enough to assume that potential, to call them potential markets, something like that? Because they are not really existing, but we see them as potential. If we give them a reason to become the customers, they can truly become the customers. Like some schools, when we make a little presentations and then parents are interested, we do a little training before the schools can say, okay, they want to buy 3D printers and so on.
So Simon, I understand what you're saying. So let's do this. I went back to problem number 8 with that model, right? All startups are not alike. Of these 4, which one do you think you are? New product in an existing market?
New product
in a new market?
No. New product in a new market.
Okay. So if you are a new product in a new market, obviously this applies to you right here, right? Right here. A company creating a new market might be unprofitable for 5 or more years. This may not be true for you, but at least it may take a little bit longer. But the potential, the investor looks not at the time, but looks at the potential. And how do you verify the potential? This is what we're going to go through next. And when we are done with that, I would like you to ask me if that has answered your question. Okay? So what is the alternative? The technology life cycle adoption is actually an interesting concept that was developed a while ago, okay? So this gives you some insights as to what may be happening with your product. And remember earlier when we were talking, we talked about the types of customers that are enthusiastic, the visionaries and stuff that may want to come in. So you will have this. And when you look at this chart, every product, literally every product, go through this bell curve type life cycle. The question is, where and when do you achieve each of these portions of the segment? And there are 5 distinct types of customers. You have the technology enthusiasts and the visionaries. Those are the early adopters. Those are the ones that are likely to be used for customer development. And there is a schism between one type of customer segment to another. But between this customer development or your early adopters to mainstream market, the schism gap is actually very wide. And you need to find a way of crossing that. to get the pragmatists and the conservative ones. And by the time you are here, I don't have problem. I think you are a happy camper. You've already made a lot of money if you have achieved this. Those that are the last customers that you would be worrying about are the ones that are the skeptics when pretty much you have come up with an alternative product and yet people are still using it. For example, take an example of the cell phones. Majority of us are using smartphones, but you still have people that are using the old 2G type phone. All they need is something to communicate, to talk to people. They don't really need all this fancy stuff that you do with your smartphone. So they don't have to spend so much money. So those are the ones at the very end of your life, right? So these are the 5 distinct type of customers that are likely to be the ones that you're going to be looking at. But these thought-provoking ideas are something that you need to be cautious about. Not that it's not helpful, but you need to be mindful of. Okay? So the shape of the overall market for any product, like I said, approximates this curve. The early market starts small and grows exponential. That's where you have this quick ramp. And if we can get that quick ramp, boy, we are happy, you know? But the schism between your early adopters and your mainstream is where you have a problem. And most of the learning and discovery that you did when you were launching your product may not necessarily, and this is really important, please pay attention, may not necessarily translate to the same strategy that you adapted to get the mainstream customers. Because mainstream customers are the ones that will sit and wait until they see this product mature before they use it, or they think this solution that is being, or the service that is being provided really makes a lot of sense before they adopt it. And the mainstream customers typically do not give so much credence to the early adopters because they think of them as not too much of a credible bunch of people. They're just people who have enough money to waste. They can just, however new something is, they'll just go and purchase it, whether it works or not. Take the case of the P10 car, luxury car from Volkswagen. It looks nice, it's great, but really, why would I go and spend $70,000 to buy that when I can get much better car for about the same price? So the crossing between your early adopter and the mainstream is something that you need to look to be mindful of. And this is what the life cycle adoption curve is not really telling you, but it provides you some insight. The biggest problem in crossing the schism is that few of the handful early marketing and selling lessons that you get, okay, only a few of that can be leveraged into the mainstream. And the reason is very clear. Like I said, they don't consider those customers as credible. However, the curve does give you some insight. There really are different types of customers in a company, as well as for the product lifecycle. So, however, the problem starts for startups, or rather the problem startup phase come much earlier than all that is happening between your mainstream and your early adopters, because you really have to go back and answer those early questions that we're talking about. So this nice looking curve that says you're going to make X amount of money if you get to this point is nice. But how do you get there? So you need to actually go and spend time understanding your customer. Otherwise, you will be having bad assumptions. And these are the 3 or the 4 assumptions that this curve falsely or gives you a false sense of comfort. if you're very early in the journey of your starting the company. Please spend time to understand this slide. Entrepreneurs entertain dreams of glory. Not that it's not good. It's great for us to have the bunch of money that we hope we'll get it. But for now, just delay that dream of the money. Do the legwork. Do the dirty work. It's boring. And I hope you guys are not sleeping. I've spent so much time talking, almost 2 hours now. But I'm taking you through the nitty-gritty things that you have to really do, unfortunately. Building a business is not easy. If it's easy, a lot of people would be in your shoes doing this thing, but it's not. So please be patient. Read this stuff.
No, we are here.
Thank you. So the technology enthusiast exists as one of those sales puzzles on the path to finding the real repeatable. Remember I said earlier that it's no good getting 1 million customers that buy your product today, but only to fizzle out and you end up with only 100 customers that are your repeat customers. You don't want to be like the web bands of the world. You really want to have a repeatable customer and build on that momentum to really get to where you want to be. So the notion that the customer base will grow in a smooth, continuous curve invites the tempting and dangerous idea that the customer adoption is simple as self-execution problem, which is not. Okay?
Yes,
In your
sir.
early stages, you are actually going to go through the learning and discovery. So what we are trying all along to do is to come to this model. All this, I don't know how many slides we've gone through, maybe about 30 slides and a lot of talking, but this is what we're trying to get to. The customer model development, which is a hybrid of the customer and the product development going hand in hand. The model is built on the idea that every startup has a set of definable milestones, which no amount of funding can accelerate. Believe me, I don't care how much money you have. Right now, what is the name of this company? Uber. They have raised a heck of a lot of money. I don't know how they're going to be profitable. I'm not saying they will not be, because Microsoft's Bomber, who knows Bomber? You probably, Bomber was the previous CEO, the immediate CEO after, what's his name? The founder.
Of what, Microsoft?
Microsoft, after Bill Gates. He took
Bill
over.
Gates.
Yeah, Bomber. Bomber said, nobody is going to buy iPhone. iPhone is not going to be successful. Nobody cares about smartphones. Where are we today?
Everyone has one.
Because Microsoft had, probably you may have used it or have heard of it, a platform, an operating system for mobile phones. And they were promoting that. And he said iPhone would not succeed. He had to eat his words. So I'm not going to say Uber is not going to be successful. It's a great company. It's doing great business. But really, the point that I'm making here, if you're in the early stages, no amount of money is going to guarantee you success. You need to do certain things. You need to achieve certain milestones to make you successful before you can go to the scaling that you want to do.
Yes, sir.
So at the heart of this model is really the testing of the market, learning and discovering the activities that you have to do to prove a market does exist. Verify someone wants to give you his money before you go out and create the market and scale. You have to do this. This is a tedious hard work. It's really boring, but that is where the core of the business is. Like I said earlier at the beginning, this is what you need to do. Once you do this, you get this right. I think, I wouldn't say your success is guaranteed, but I think you have done a good amount of work to secure a position for your business. So this is how this model looks like. The model's strength is in its rigor and flexibility at the same time, with each step having specific deliverables in the product development process. So when you are in the customer discovery loop, you see it's not a box, it's a loop. You have to
Yes, sir.
So Simon, here we are with your product. You are talking about the things that you are likely to do with the secondary schools and the product that they may like to do or use. So you are in the customer discovery phase, even though you have your own model. You have your factory, you have your 3D printer, you have the things that you're doing. You can make this thing, you can make this stuff. You have that. Now, you have to discover the customer. Who is really the customer for these products? Or what variants of your products are they going to use? You need to go through this iteration. If you're going through 1 or 2 secondary school or school authorities and you're talking to them, please keep talking to them. If they tell you this is what they're looking at, look at your earlier assumptions and work with that and go back to those questions that we asked. Go through the loop, produce something, go back to the customer, let them validate what you're saying or what you come up with based on your discussion with them and maybe a few of your staff. Going through this loop and iterating will tell you whether or not you have a workable solution. So once you have pinned down really what type of customer segment you're going after, because you cannot be everything to everybody, you cannot. You have to really figure out who you want to target. Narrow that down. You can have all the other segments. This can be your roadmap. But for now, pin down a particular profitable segment that you think will take you through such that you can spend time developing the others. So you do go through this until you reach an escape, so to speak, escape velocity in this loop that will lead you to go to the customer validation process. And once the customer agrees with you, you now go customer creation. And that is when you start talking to your marketing guys, and the marketing guys start building up and telling the story around your product.
That's right.
And creating with your agency or the PR agent that will now start selling the idea and the prints and stuff. And then at that point, when market has been created clearly based on the successes that you have achieved during the customer discovery and validation processes, now you are going to the last cycle, which is the building of the company. At that point is when you are actually going to start hiring a VP of sales, marketing, business development. You have a story already, and you have something that works, and you know who the customers are, the market is, and you are just giving them the matching orders to go and grow the business. And that's when you are going to go through that exponential growth. Until that, which you have done in the first and second steps, you shouldn't be talking about the third and the fourth steps. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this slide just kind of says it all, right? The customer discovery is discovering the problems of the customer and the needs, really understanding those variables. The validation is the developing a sales model that can be replicated, meaning you have a repeat customer or customers that is really generating revenue, guaranteeing you that this model that you have finally nailed down is something that is repeatable. At that point is when you move on to the customer creation to drive the end user market. And with that, now you have all the various departments that will create an organization. And now that is when it's kind of funny. We're saying we don't want to be doing execution. We want to be in the learning and discovery company. But this is the early stages. But once you have reached the customer creation stage where you're driving demand, you have to do a somersault and start to organize the company as an execution company, because now you have already created a roadmap and you want to hand it over to these people that will know nothing but just execution. They will take what you have learned and execute it. So now you are now turning yourself into an execution company. But you keep that small team that will continue to learn and discover new stuff for you that you can come up with further new products. Okay? So the integral part of this model is market type choices affect the way a company deploys its sales, marketing, and financial resources. Depending on whether you are a new a company bringing new product to a new market, or an existing market, or segmenting, or going after a niche market, how you deploy your resources to the sales, marketing, and finance department is really unique, you alone. And the cycles and hours in each of those steps are iterative, okay? So it's for you to keep iterating yourself until you can really achieve escape velocity. So finding the right customers and market is unpredictable, which means, Simon, with your 3D printer and the products, you're likely to screw up a few times before you get it right, and that's okay. And not only you, but all of the other people on this call, if you go through this model, that is why there is this statement, fail and try it and fail. If you fail, fail fast and move on. But you are iterating, and then you identify where your errors are, you pivot, you make correction, you do course correction, and you pick it from where you identify the right path and you follow that. So that is what this is saying. So it will take several iterations of each of the 4 steps to get it right. Okay? So this slide really is a summary of what I said. So I'll just jump. During discovery and validation steps, lots of cash at hand only upscale you finding the market. So in essence, what this is saying is that you don't need a whole lot of money, or rather having a whole lot of money will not help you when you are in these 2 early stages. You need enough money to sustain you, but you don't need to raise so much money, because if you do have a lot of money, you may end up discounting some markets, giving out some freebies, and doing all kinds of promotions just to elude yourself thinking that you actually have a market, which you don't. You actually don't want to get people coming after you to give you money. So most startups cycle through the first 2 steps at least twice, allowing a company to carefully estimate and frugally manage its cash. Okay? All the activities on non-product development team can be delayed. So you don't really amass a team of people, sales, marketing, business development, and paying for utilities and office spaces while people are just sitting, waiting for you to tell them what to do. You want to have done your job right before you reach that stage of scaling. So the last two steps of customer creation and company building basically is to capitalize on the opportunities that you actually created, so that you can now use that to commence the scaling of the business. So here, what we're looking at is the customer discovery and customer validation are a set of hypotheses and that collaborate or corroborate your business model. So when you came together with your friend and said, I want to create a business, Michael Charles, I want to create a product where somebody is out there looking for cash, he can actually walk into a merchant and the merchant will give him the cash he needs without having his card or anything. All he needed is his phone and a QR code reader, and he will get his cash. This is a very simple thought, and that is what you think you only need, and you created a business model around that. How are you sure that is actually going to work? You don't. You have to go through the customer discovery and the validation of that process. You have to really go through that tedious process to do that. So once you do that and it corroborates what the business model is saying, then great, at that point you have something. So completing this first two steps verifies the market, locates your customer, tests the perceived value of the product, identifies the economic buyer, really the buyer that gives you the money, and establishes the pricing and the channel strategy that you're going to adapt down the line when you're scaling, when you go to company building, and checks out the sales cycle and process. You see, Simon, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Okay, how does that sound to you?
Well, it sounds good. It's just a bit handful.
A bit handful.
Yes, sir. I mean, in terms of, sometimes we can't really we can't really tell our customers. Suddenly I get customers like the military coming to buy 3D printer, and I would on no account think they can be a potential customer. So
let's take that as an example. Let's take the military as an example.
Yes.
How did the military even come to know about you?
Okay, through someone who sells electronic parts, who I once made a 3D part for.
Okay, so this is word of mouth, right? Is that correct? Somebody told them.
Sorry, sir. I didn't. Yes, somebody told them. Yes, from someone. And
this is word of mouth. Somebody told them. So
yes, word of mouth.
So you look at the product that you made for the military, and you look at its uses. Why are they buying this from you? What is it going to do for them? And you look at other customers in the same line, or that may likely, if it's something with uniformed people. So if this military is using this, will the police use it? Will the road safety use it? Will the customs use it? Will the immigration use it? What is unique about this product that the military wanted it? You look at that, you analyze it. And if you can find a common thread among the uniformed people vis-a-vis this particular product that you created for the military, then maybe you are now within the hypothesis realm. So you want to verify that, right? So you approach the police, you approach the immigration in the same way that if you think what you made for the military will be useful for these other people or group of people. And if you get 1, 2, 3 saying, yeah, maybe, why don't you try it? Let's see. So you're getting to this customer, what do we call it? The customer development or the customer creation loop, right? You're creating a customer. And then when you made the product, you go to them and said, okay, remember we talked about this and this is what the product looks like. Will it work for you? They test it. Yeah, it does, but you needed to have done this and that. Then you go back, you fix it, and then you come back. They validate it. You may go through this iteration with them. And then they say, damn, this is really good. This is exactly what we're looking for. Now you have a customer. You have validated it, right? So I'm just using this as an example, but I know you make other products for schools, for the electronics industry. So whatever that might be, the mold that you're making, you look at, and in your case, you have a unique, you are in a unique situation because you're pretty much like those manufacturers in China that have 1,000,001 customers, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, correct, sir.
Yeah, so people are coming to you saying, today I want you to make a mold of a cup for me. Tomorrow, somebody will come and say, the mold that I want is for a bottle. I want for sunglasses. So now you are in all different places, but they're all consumer products, right? So you need to really position yourself such that the thing that which you are doing will meet the needs of the different customers, but in a way that is universal across this particular segment of the market, not the military or the uniform personnel. So that is why I was saying, for now, in the early stages, 2 things. Identify who you are. Are you a company that brings a product, a new product to a new market or to an existing market, or you're segmenting for a niche market or otherwise, right? So either low cost or whatever. First, pin down who you are. Once you pin down that, go back to those list of questions that we went through earlier and try to identify or answer those questions in a very honest way, such that you feel deep down, yes, I think I have nailed it. And in the process, you may nail 1, 2, 3 different types of market business models. That is fine. Don't take all of them. Pick the one that you want to run with first, and then you can, down the road, pick the rest and add them. Does that make sense, Simon?
Yes, sir. It does, sir.
Okay. So customer creation and, I don't know, and company building. Startups are not all alike. We said that. Some are entering, so depending on your market segments, right, or market types, some are entering existing market well defined by their competitors. Some are creating new markets when no product or company exists. So when I wrote this, I have been thinking within this cohort, if there is a company that is bringing new product to a new market where there are no other companies. Do we have anybody like that? Maybe not. Okay. Somebody talking? Samantha, is that you? Okay. So I'm attempting a hybrid of the two types of resegmentation, or either low cost or niche. In either case, each of these market types strategies require a very different set of customer creation activities. So you need to know what you are, okay? So in conclusion, what I'm going to say here is, when you're doing your product development and customer development, you need to synergize the two. You need to synchronize these approaches. Make sure you go out and see your customers, talk to your customers. At the beginning, I did hear Mercy talking about you sending out, to make it easier and faster, electronic versions of your market survey. That is good. But I would also encourage you to, as hard as it may be, to go out and meet the customer. Because you send out 100 questionnaires, you probably, if you're lucky, you get 10%. Typically, people don't respond to emails. That is the problem. Otherwise, it would have been great. But if you do your homework right, you go and really nail down those questions that we went through earlier. You really spend a lot of time. You will identify the customers that you really, really want to reach. Even within a company, who within that company really, really need your product or service. If they need it, believe me, wherever you are, they will find you and they will say yes to your questions. So do the homework, spend the time to see your customer. The product development group that focuses on product-centric activities work internally, but the customer development group is a customer-centric type group, and it works outside of the company. For you guys that are small, 2, 3, maybe 4, you're going to wear both hats. You're going to do this job. You have to do the runnings, unfortunately, and it's tough. That's why they said in a startup, the CEO is the janitor at the same time. So that is no difference. Don't worry about that demarcation. Just make sure you talk to your customer and they understand your product and you understand the customer and you understand the market. Because for a startup to succeed, both the product and customer development group must remain synchronous and operate in concert. Okay? And if the two, or if in your case, because you're really few in each of the groupings, maybe 2 or 3 people, maximum 4, it means there isn't much of an argument. But if you cannot convince yourself that the customer development cycle that you're going through is not well articulated, don't go to the customer creation stage or building of a company, please, because you'll be wasting your time. Really make sure you nail the first and second steps. Okay? Now, this is the chart that I want you guys to really look at your free time. And this is a summary of everything that we talked about. Okay? And here's the fun part. I'm giving you something here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. These are 2 movies. Okay? The Valley of the Boom and Project Cloud Rush. Valley of the Boom is a 6-part National Geographic documentary on the birth of the internet. Please, if you have time, I will urge you to go and watch this. It's inspirational on one hand. It is also, it gives you an idea of really what it means to start and run a business, a startup. And this looks at Silicon Valley startups, the hype, the glory, all the, what is it? Things that you would imagine of being in a startup, and the fun stuff, as well as the really, really difficult stuff. You will see it. And it also talked about, for those of you who know Netscape, I don't know how many know or have heard of Netscape.
Yes.
Anyone Netscape?
Yes.
How about Mosaic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Netscape.
Yes.
Is it the Netscape that also has the Netscape software?
Netscape was a browser.
The first one.
Oh, okay.
Netscape was a browser in the 90s. Before that was another browser called Mosaic, but it's a text-based. This was in the late 80s into the early 90s, Mosaic, as in Mosaic, M-O-S-I-A-C, Mosaic. And then came Netscape. And Netscape was great. And Microsoft came on board and wanted to kill it. And there was this famous story about war of the browsers.
Yes.
You will see in this movie, Bill Gates in the hot stuff, or on the hot seat in front of the US Senate, being grilled as to why he is actually trying to monopolize the market. They went to court, he lost. It tells you a lot about what happened in the early days. And when I watched this, I felt like, boy, this is, because I was there. All the story, everything, we were making jokes about what was going on. Same with Code Rush. It shows you what's going on in Silicon Valley, and it followed a few Netscape engineers, their lives and their wars, and all the things that they went through. So this is really an interesting movie or movies. If you find time, watch them. It will really give you a different kind of perspective on what it means to start a company and what it means to actually start and scale and be successful. I hope maybe 2 years down the road, we'll say, oh, these guys, we're part of their success. Okay?
Yes, sir.
With this, I conclude the 2.5 hours class, and please, let's have a back and forth. If you have any questions, I'm open. By the way, before the questions, how was the class? Is it too heavy? Like I said at the beginning, I know it's too heavy, it's too textbook. For those of you who have read the 4 Steps to Epiphany, you probably will recognize this material. Have you read the 4 Steps to Epiphany by Steve Blank?
No, sir.
How many have read that book? I think I referenced that, I gave that as a reference.
Okay. I haven't read it personally yet.
Okay, so I'm going to make that available through Messi, along with Lean Startup. Yeah, so that you guys can find time to read it. But this particular one, the 4 Steps to Epiphany, this material that we covered is actually a summary of chapters 1 and 2 of the 6-part book.
Okay.
And each one of the cycles, from the customer creation, customer validation, the demand creation, and the building of the company, those form the last 4 chapters in the book. And it goes into more detail with more questions. Please, as you continue in your journey, keep going back and repeat or read this book. And even if you don't read the book, use this slide, go through those questions and ask yourself and help yourself nail down, because these questions really will help you through your product development. Because product development is actually customer development. You have to develop the customer, develop that relationship to create your product. Okay. So with that, okay,
Yes,
questions. Go ahead. Hello.
Yeah, hello. So for
Yes.
me, I think in the process of this, we spoke about the plan B. So I want to understand exactly, is it that the plan B is supposed to be a way or another strategy for marketing, or a by the side kind of business within your original or primary business?
Okay.
That's the plan
So,
B.
yes, I know what you're referring to. So I will answer your question not in the context of the traditional product development model, but in the customer development model. Because you don't necessarily change what you're doing, your business, but rather the business model. In the process of your iteration steps, when you are in the customer creation and customer validation loop, you are trying different markets and different customers and different, segments within the market. You may have a market, but you have different segments. Within that, as you're going through iteration, you are going to identify, maybe you start, Simon, you asked the question. So let me start, use you as an example. Let's say your focus was on the electronic model or market segment. You're creating products for the electronic market, consumer market, for sockets and stuff. But you realize the market is not that big. After you've done your analysis. But the same kind of model using your 3D printer, you can create another market maybe for toys that is bigger. And maybe even within toys, a particular type of toy that catches the fancy, or toys, maybe 2 or 3 different out of 10, that catches the parents and the kids' attention. And that is what the market tells you. You started with this consumer electronic market, but still is within the 3D printer segment. But now you pivot to the toy market. And within the toy market, you have different types of toys that you're producing. And out of the 10 different variants, 2 or 3 were the ones that really hit the market well. You quickly pivot to that, even though you dedicated less resources to it initially. You're spending more money on the others, but yet they are not the ones that are bringing you money. So you narrow yourself down on the ones that you really identify, and that is what the market is telling you. So how do you come about knowing that? It's because you're going through this iterative process, trial and error. It's really trial and error, honestly. But not in the dark. You are not throwing darts in the dark. No, it's actually educated guess, because you're talking to the customer, meeting the customers. You are not sitting in your shop. Again, I'll go back to your military products. The same product that you're making for the military, maybe the margin is high, but you never thought whether or not the other uniform personnel may use that product. You talk to the police, immigration, customs, and you realize that, oh, actually they will need it too. Right there, maybe with a little tweak, but you now see that the majority of your line can produce this product, and you have something to work with. So with that, you are really repositioning yourself rather than saying you are leaving a business for another business. your core business is actually in the 3D printing. That is the core. Simon, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So, but alongside comes the, yes, the core is the 3D printing, which, should I say, grows to encapsule manufacturing. So it marries a whole lot of things together. Because, for instance, training comes up, which who is getting a 3D printer wants to training. And it's so difficult for me to really narrow the, should I say, the business strictly to just 3D printing, to be more focused, because it opens up other market avenues.
Okay,
so,
just give
the plan B becomes a multiple plan B.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. So let's spend some time on that. Because the 3D printing is part of your manufacturing business, and you mentioned training. So this training, what does it involve? What does it entail? Is it how to use the printer?
Yes, how to use the printers. Because, for instance, when an architectural firm buys a 3D printer, they want to know how to use it to make their physical model. When the military buys the printer, they want to know how to use it to make a casing for their walkie-talkie. When the school buys it, they want to train the students on how they can design other products, whether a key holder or just anything for the school. So it brings up this plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E situation.
Okay, so I think I understand. The product is the same, is the application. Is that correct? Simon?
Yes, yes,
the
it's
product
correct.
is the same, is the application that is the question, right? Whether the architectural firm, how they are going to use this printer for their own use. Whether the schools, how they would use this product for their own use. Same with the military. So you have two businesses, if I think I understand you correctly. One business is producing the printer and selling it. Correct?
Yes, correct.
And then the second business is actually the training on how to use the printer.
Yes.
So what you need to work out now is a business model. What is your business model? Are you producing and selling? You go figure it out. I will have a one-time training for you. The pricing comes with one-time training. Or you produce the printer, but you have a department dedicated on training alone. All it does is training, be it military, be it the architectural firm, be it the school. Wherever the printer is sold into, that is a different business unit. That's a different P&L, the profit and loss account. It may be the same company, but you have different departments. You sell the printer for 100,000 Naira. The accounting of that goes into the manufacturing and selling of that product. How to use that product in different applications is a different business unit. And that does, you have another group of people that do the training. And perhaps the training for the military is going to be different for the training for the architects. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So how about training for the police or the immigration if they were to use the same product? Will it be the same?
Yes. Well, it could be the same depending on which aspect they want to focus on. Because sometimes the software determines the training. For instance, those that want to go into manufacturing might use a different software compared to those that want to do prosthetic hands. So the training differs a little.
Okay, Simon, I think you have a unique case. Maybe what we will do, we can spend time to help you figure out the best model. And of the 4 different market types, what are you? And then you need to figure out, or we can discuss how you figure out the business model that best serves that. But if you go back and answer those questions, the early questions, it will help you narrow down the segment, because I don't think the schools will be on the same revenue path or generation as, say, the military or the architectural firm. Correct?
That's true. The school has, yes, correct. The school has
maybe the school may not have a lot of margin, but it has volume. It has volume, maybe. On the other hand, the architectural firm may not have volume, because how many architectural firms are in Nigeria? But they need this product and for what they use it. So your margin may be higher. So your business model is going to be different. How do you charge and how you work that out? You understand? Michael? Oh, Simon.
Yes, I understand, sir.
Okay, so I think it's something that needs a little bit of walking around. So we can spend time to look at that. And, but I would urge you before that to really, having gone through this customer creation and customer validation process and the questions, go through the questions, spend some time, query yourself, you and your team, to really understand the different customers that you want to, because you cannot be everything. Remember I said, you cannot be everything to everybody. You have to choose. And you can narrow down which ones you want to choose for now. For now, I'm not saying ignore all the market. I know in your case, it's rather unique because you're looking at manufacturing. This is a manufacturing process. So it's slightly different. So let's talk offline. I think we need to spend some time on that one. Okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody else? Sarki, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So how has the material been for you? You are in the education space, correct?
Yes, sir. It has been great. A lot of information to grasp. I think I've learned a lot from today.
It's not the learning, but how will this now apply? The learning is good.
Yeah.
But, the question is, how does that apply to your situation? What is your action plan going out today or tomorrow? What do you do? As you can notice, I didn't give you any assignment because I feel this product is heavy. There is no need for any assignment. It's for you to decide whether you really want to succeed with your business. We are reaching a point where you're all adults. You want to succeed. You want to make something out of what you're doing. So this is a material for you to take and look at it carefully and see where you are vis-a-vis the market that you're trying to address, and really drill down, answer those questions. You may think that you've answered the questions. Go back and look at the questions. You will realize that there are more probing that you need to do. And with those probing, you have to understand even more who you are going after. Okay?
Yeah, I understand. Okay. From today, I've noticed I really need to answer a lot of questions from what you've presented. A lot of questions I've never answered before. And I think me and my team will have to answer them very soon.
And it's not only you and your team, but you also have to ask the question of your customers. You have to ask your customers some of those questions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The question is not just for you, but it's for the customer also.
I understand.
Okay. Anybody else? Where are the ladies? Where is the lady from Lagos?
She's not here. I sent her the link, but she didn't join. Toby's battery ran out.
Oh, okay.
She apologized before leaving. She said she was on 2%.
Okay. All right. So who else? Marco Charles. How does that, the more I go through this material, the more I think of your two-sided business and how are you going to plan to address those two-sided business? You know, last week, Friday, Dr. Philip was talking about the customer and the consumer. Michael, are you there? Is Michael there?
Yes, he is, and his mic is on.
Okay, so Michael Charles. Okay, so how are you looking at these sets of questions to address your consumer and the customer? Because you have a rather unique, also finance situation. You have a unique way of onboarding people. You have the merchant on one hand, and then you also have the general public who need to be aware of the product such that they can walk into a merchant to get money, right? So you need to think, you and your friend, you need to think deeper when you look at those sets of questions to really understand how do you now reframe the questions to address these two sets of customers or two sets of users, right? And don't forget, you are also going to work with the banks. How do you plan on actually talking to the banks? Because you're going to have to start deducting directly from people's accounts. So what is your plan on doing that? You need to, I didn't have questions for that, but you need to come up with questions on that, right? I see you nodding, you're not saying anything. I can hear you. Can anybody hear him?
Your mic is on.
No, sir.
Your mic is muted, Michael.
Sorry, can I get your earpiece, please?
No. Listen, Michael, we can hear you. Forget about the head. Just talk straight to the computer. We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Only that people need to not be around you. Otherwise, we'll
Yes. Okay. First of all, we have developed just the questionnaires we sent out was like an eye opener to us. Can you? Okay. Sorry. Let me use this. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So the questionnaires we sent out was an eye opener to us because we had to think through all of them. We have to think through the questions, you know, to get the right information from our customers, that's from the merchants and also the users. Now, I'm hoping that when these questionnaires come back, they will give us a sense of direction on what to improve on. And apart from that, we're still going to do some more feasibility studies, you know, to get more information. Then, although during the During the class, my internet was going off and on, and I was just trying to connect. But I'm sure I want to ask that you please send us the slides so that one will be able to spend more time.
Yeah, it will be available. Messi will post it.
So we'll spend more time. Yeah. So we'll spend more time on those questions, and then we'll do a good brainstorming on them and see what direction to go.
Okay, and I will also say, because you have another business which is loaning money, right, to the merchants loaning to the end consumer. So you also need to have a different sets of questions for that business, because you have two lines of business, right? And while you're doing it, you also need to make sure you actually go out and talk to this. Not just send it out. But you need to go out and talk to this.
Yes, that's what we're doing currently. That's what we're doing.
Okay, excellent.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
We're approaching 3 hours now. Wow, this is the longest I think we've done. But I hope it has been productive.
Yes, it has.
Okay, so like I said, 3 things. This slide will be made available through me. Made available to you. And then the 4 steps to efficiency, and then lean startup. I will also make those available to Messi so that you'll get access to them. And when at your free time, you can go and watch these 2 movies. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. I think I'm going to sign out.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thanks for the session, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Hey, guys.
Thanks, Mercy.
How was it?
Thanks a lot. Yeah, it was really insightful.
I know it was a lot, but that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. We don't want you to come into the program and leave the way you came with, and then you're still looking for an incubation program to join next and all that. No. We want you to come here, get everything you need to get for your business and grow in terms of knowledge. All right. The slides were made available to everyone, so I just suggest you go through it. For those of you that have sent out or are about to send out your customer assessment or your research, or please do that. Take your time. It's really important because it's going to affect your pricing. It's going to affect the way you relate your business model. It's also going to affect the way you do your marketing, right? It's important you know these guys. If you don't know them, you're just going to be wasting money and doing things and be wondering, why is it that my business is not going? Maybe there's someone in the village that is attacking me, right? Yeah, truly though, truly, right? So let's save costs by doing this. I really agree with what Doctor said about going out. I know that might be difficult, but please get as much feedback, as much responses as you can. If there is a business where I'm in one of your customer segments or I fall into one of the categories, please share. I'll gladly fill it. Is that fine?
Yes.
All right then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you very much. So the slides for all the sessions are going to be made available to you. We have the slide for the first 2 sessions. This session is being recorded, so definitely you can view it as often as possible. So it's going to be added to a Google folder rather, where you can access it. Do you have any questions for me, guys?
Yes. For me, I have a little issue with my true customers because they are honestly unreachable. So, and I don't want to just send out or meet people that I know that they are not really really have that challenge because it's something new. So it takes, even after presentation, the little people I can have that with are not much. And I don't want to just send out to people who have not, should I say, experience or have need for the product because it's new. So I
But
have a bit of
Ayodele,
some challenges to my phone. Yes.
have you done you've done your value proposition, right?
Yes.
You were in the last class. Were you able to define your customers?
Yes. And I was able to, but because my customers vary, so even when I put them together, some are like an organization, and it's difficult for me to honestly reach out to the real person that will be able to answer my question.
Why? I don't understand why.
Okay, what I mean by that is that if I should, like some of them are not even in Abuja here, and if I should send to them, in fact, it can maybe only be through on phone, something like that. Though I've not tried over the phone, but that's why I'm saying that I have that challenge of having response from my clients.
Simon.
Okay.
Let's talk
Yes.
off the line.
Hello?
Talk offline. Let's talk.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
Let's talk. You have a unique chance. Let's talk offline.
All right. Okay, guys. Aside Simon.
For us to talk maybe next week.
Yeah.
Challenging, but I'll find time for us to talk next week. Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Aside Simon, guys, does anyone have any questions for me? Are we good?
Good.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Remember, we have a class on branding and design.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And after that, we'll be done with 4 sessions. And we'll be left with, I think 6 more before your demo day.
Okay. What time again?
It's 10 o'clock. You guys have you have it now. I sent you
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Just
so I'm going to, as soon as we go off now, I'm going to send you the invite, the registration link. The reason why I keep sending the registration link is because a lot of Zoom meetings have been hacked.
Okay.
Yes, and I really don't want anyone coming in to disrupt our flow. It's for security. So guys, see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, now, bye-bye, guys.
Have a blessed day. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Bye.